doing a thing on YouTube. Doing a thing
Root,
on
root,
YouTube. YouTube. Here we
root,
go.
root.
Yeah, YouTube. Hi, it's us. Jennifer from Little Metal Foxes.
And Helen from Little Metal Foxes.
There you go. Hey, everybody.
There we go.
All right. So we are very excited. We've got stuff to share today. Um, yeah. Hi, Helen. How are you?
Hello.
So, welcome. I'm Jennifer
Yes.
from Little Metal Foxes. This is Helen, also from Little Metal Foxes. And we've got some tool tips today about chasing tools. And I'm really excited to show you guys this because we were inspired to do this because one of our friends, Jeff DeBoer, who is an amazing Canadian artist, metalsmith,
Amazing.
so good. He does repoussé chasing, and if you're not familiar with Jeff's work, please go check it out. He does cat and mouse armor, like life-size cat and mouse armor, and it is so incredibly detailed and like historically based and beautifully, beautifully done. And National Geographic did a story on Jeff. We've actually talked to Jeff on a previous Tooltip Tuesday, which was a lot of fun. And we've got a class with Jeff coming up starting next week that is great. So we are thrilled to have Jeff DeBoer teaching. And it's a rare opportunity to actually take a class with him. So if you're out there and you're interested at all in armor, repoussé and chasing, or wanting to learn the tools and stuff that it takes to make that, and or just curious about Jeff's work and how he does it, it's really going to be an amazing class. So check out Jeff's class coming up. He's actually got two back to back. And you get the bonus of the class that he taught this fall. Actually, you get
Hmm.
that video as well for free.
Yep.
Is going to be the introduction to his repoussé and chasing and how to make the liner that he uses for a lot of his work. So it gives you a chance to kind of see that step by step before you start the
Hmm.
class. But it's, yeah, so you get like two classes for the price of one, basically. And then the deep dive is the second class, and that's going to be really good. So,
Yeah.
but it inspired me to pull out my repoussé and chasing tools and take a look at them and
Yay.
see how awesome they are. So yeah, so welcome everybody. If you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the chat. Hit that like button and ding and let us know if you have any questions. And if you're watching this later on, if you didn't get to see us live, please, let us know. Put some comments down below. If you are doing repoussé and chasing or you have questions about Jeff's class, please, type them in the comments below and we will
Yep.
get right back to you. So, so Helen, have you done any repoussé and chasing at all? Have you?
I have not really. Now I have made a liner tool
Right.
way back when I think I barely knew you. I took a tool making class from Danica Design. So Dana uh Casera and her awesome studio class place. And I can't remember the instructor's name, but he was very kind and very generous with his knowledge. And so I made just basically a punch, a center punch, and a liner tool. And I was surprised actually at how easy it was. So I'm thinking, okay, it's steel, it's going to be hard, and it's not going to be, where it's going to be a lot of grinding and no, it's it's basically, I mean, it's not as soft as silver, but it's not like when it's untempered. When it's untempered, it's very malleable. You
Yeah.
can work with it very easily,
Yeah.
and it was really simple to make the tool that I wanted out of, a piece of steel that's like quarter-inch rod that's this
Absolutely,
thick.
absolutely. I've made a number of different tools, and my first foray into doing repoussé and chasing was with Eleanor Modi when I was in grad school, and she taught us how to do all of the Japanese tools, which I'll show you here in a second, and which is a little bit different than the Western repoussé and chasing. Um,
Mhm.
because of the approach, how they do it. And so I was sort of taught that. So I have never really, I understand how to do it, but I always seem to fall back to the Japanese technique of working toward you.
Right.
But the cool thing is that the way that Jeff works, he's going to teach you how to make the tools.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because you can make them out of any piece of steel and turn them into the tool that you need, right? So if you're working with something that's like a good nail, you can use that. I've got a bunch of nails here that I'll show you that are great tools. Things like, old drifts and punches work great. Um, and if you're really into it, just, some good steel stock from the hardware store works fantastic. And Jeff will talk about, which tools and which steel and stuff he recommends. But you can get, steel stock in different thicknesses, different sizes. So if you're wanting to do little stamps, you can do that. If you're wanting to, raise the surface, puff things out and create a little bit of volume on your piece. This is a really excellent technique for that, to create some form and definition. And it creates structure in the piece so that it actually makes like really light pieces of metal
Hmm.
more structurally solid, because
Yeah.
the more shape it has, the more solid it is. And it can be really lightweight, which is really kind of cool. So
Yeah.
for things like earrings and beads and neck pieces, you can form things that are, lighter metal, but have like this incredible volume. So they look like they'd be really heavy pieces, but they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's one of the things I think that's kind of interesting about it. And some people
Yeah,
sell
and
them.
you can be really illustrative with it, not just patterns, but you can make imagery with it, so it's really, I mean, it's got so many possibilities, this technique. It's just,
Yeah.
you can do
And
so
it's
much with it.
it's so varied. And it's a technique that's been used around the world for I mean, thousands of years.
Yeah.
And, with the most basic tools, which is really kind
Hmm.
of the cool thing about it. I mean, you can, pick it up and take it just about any place with you, and work on it. If you've got, a source to heat up the metal,
Yep.
you don't have to have a whole lot of stuff. Um, so yeah, so I'll show you some of the tools that I've got here. Hang on, let me
Okay.
switch my
Coolio.
over here. Yeah. And whoop, there we are. Hello. Hello, bench pen. Let's see. Let me spotlight this for you guys. And there we go, do that just to make it a little bit easier. And oops. Oh, let's see. I might have to sign in over here to be able to spotlight me. Hang on here just a
Oh
second.
yeah, I guess because there's only two of us.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, let me jump on here. Oh, Tooltip Tuesday. There we go.
You
Um,
learn things every day. Proof.
there we go.
Recording in progress.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, let me spotlight that. There we
Yep.
go. Okay. So yeah, one of the first chasing tools that I learned to make were from these. These are Japanese chasing tools, and the stock is from Japan, and they're forged out pieces of steel. Some of them have different purposes, and they all have different names, which is kind of cool. Some of them are used to grip and move the metal. Some of them are used like planishing tools. Some of them are, little liners, punches, or engraving tools that are used for doing things like inlay. And some of them are like chisels. So they all have kind of a different purpose and shape to the front of them. The kabori, which is kind of an engraving tool. There's my kabori. I'll get a little zoomed in on that so you can see it. So yeah, the kabori is like a little engraver, very tiny. And it has a very specific shape to it. It's sort of curved up on the front a little bit. Yeah, let's see if I can get that in focus a little bit better. It's curved up on the front, so it's like a tiny engraving tool. Um,
Hmm.
And some of them are just, little liners. That's an unfinished one that I can work with and I can shape it any way I want. So this one, there we go. So this one, some of them are textured like this one, and it's been slapped with a file a few times, so it has like some teeth in it. So that gives it
Huh.
grip, and I can use it to kind of move the metal when I'm working. Um, so these, you anneal them like any other steel if you're going to make a tool out of it. And then once you anneal it, you can shape the end, to be whatever you want it to be. And then you re-temper it so it is the right hardness. And on this one, you can actually see the straw yellow on the
Yep.
tip, which means that this is now tool hard on the front. And you can see kind of the rainbow of colors as it was hardening.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest of this is still sort of in the annealed state where because it's nice and soft and still has a little bit of push to it. But that end, is nice and hard, which is what you want your stamp to be. So so these, there we go, getting focus there. So these tools have very specific purposes. For the Western punches and for chasing and repoussé, a lot of people will do different things with them. They'll, work with different lengths of tools. So like this one, I've actually used as a stamp and made, kind of carved the end into a stamp pattern. But you can use just regular tool stock steel and anneal it, and then you can make your tool. And you can do that with, old punches or drifts. I've got a few pieces that are just some forged pieces of steel that I have, changed the front to or am kind of in process on. But, different people, if you look at like Victoria Lansford's work or Jeff's work, they're going to have like different lengths, or Megan Corwin's work. They all have different lengths of punches, just depending on what they're doing. So some of them, if they're holding it, and have bigger hands, you might have to have something that's a little bit longer. Um, and if you're working, kind of hammering things, this might need to be a little bit longer and holding it from the middle. With Victoria's tools, I know they're shorter. Victoria's teeny person. So a lot of her tools are shorter. And she sells a set with her classes that she does, and you can find a link to her classes on our website as well. So, having, the right tool for this is really nice. And I think we've sort of gotten into the habit of, you know, um, thinking that all the tools that we need are going to be online someplace and we can purchase them or go and get them. But, fact is that you can make the tools that you need a lot
Mm-hmm.
more easily than you one think. And like you were saying, this stuff is so malleable once you anneal it, you can really work it. And
Yeah.
the spirals on these were done hot. So I just did some hot forging, to twist these back and forth. And for me, this just gives it a little grip.
Yeah.
This one, like, there's a little rocker, a little burnishing rocker that I like to use. This one is more of a planishing punch. But this just gives it a little grip and is this one's a little not really used so much as a punch. It's more used as a like a burnishing tool. But check these out, Helen. You
I
got
know.
that?
They're so cool. I love them. Oh, look at those. Look at those. Those are nails.
These are nails. Yeah. So these nails, I added my little twist while I was annealing these. And then I've got a liner on this one, and then a punch or a scoop shape on this one. So I've got a couple of different punches, but these things are designed to be hit with a hammer.
There
But
you
I
go.
have a whole bunch of these. So when I made this batch, I just added all the twist in them that I really wanted. So a lot of times I'll go ahead and like anneal these to prep them. And then when I need them, I can pull them out and then shape them. So that way I'm not doing like one at a time. I can do like
Yeah.
get, a whole bunch of nails or a whole bunch of steel stock, anneal it so that if I'm like, in a bind and I'm like, oh, I really need something that's got a curve to it or a line to it, I can pull this
Mm-hmm.
out of the drawer and shape this real quick the way I need it. And then I just have to heat harden it.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
so yeah, so this one is a liner or a chisel. There's like a little chisel tip on it. You can see, right?
That's very cool.
So yeah, and that's a little texturing stamp. on that one. But yeah, this is for the process on this. You just again want to kind of have it so it's the right length for your hand. So
Mm-hmm.
and you can adapt that. You can always cut it down if you need to. But once to anneal these, what you have to do is just get the tip red hot. You're going to take it to red hot with your torch and then
Yep.
plant it in some sand or vermiculite and let it cool slowly. And that slow cooling allows the crystal structure of the metal to expand and stay that way. So it just sort of like the
Gets it
crystal
all
structure.
nice and relaxed.
Yeah, so the crystal structure just sort of like spreads out with the heat. And then if you let it cool slowly, it just kind of like stays that way. Then what you can do is file, shape, get your details in any way you want. And then you're going to heat harden it. And like I said, on some of these, you can actually see the heat hardening process on there.
Oh, yep, there it is. The
Yeah,
blue to purple, and then there's
yeah.
straw colored at the end.
And so you heat it kind of back here behind the tip with your torch, and you'll see these bands of color start to migrate to the tip. And once you see that yellow, that straw yellow hit your tip, you know that that is going to be tool hardened steel on the end.
Yep.
So that's going to be, this is, I didn't really heat this, so it's going to be like the regular, this part is annealed, but back here, I didn't really heat this part. And usually I'm holding this with like vice grips when I anneal these and when I heat harden them. Um, but you can see those bands of color that let you know
Mm-hmm.
exactly when it's the right time. Then if it is, I usually use oil, like motor
Mm-hmm.
oil, and just
Yep.
dip it in as soon as it's gets yellow to the end, and that will work harden the end. Then I'll polish it. So then once I get it, kind of because it's back hard again, it's hard to
Yeah.
polish it when it's annealed because it is kind of soft, but it polishes up to a mirror finish when it's work hardened. So,
Yep.
and you get
And the beauty is if you mess it up, you just start again. So
exactly.
if you get the
Yeah.
color, you get it too hot, you just redo
Yeah.
it.
You can redo it. Absolutely. And, you might, go and test it once it's hard and be like, oh, that's not what I wanted it to be, or you need to make a change, or you don't need the tool shaped like that
Mm-hmm.
anymore. You can just anneal it again and remake it, or add the details that you need. So, it's kind of like an endless tool until you run out of steel, run out of room to work. But yeah, but it's so much easier than I think. It's like this mystery because like you said, it's steel and it's hard and you don't know what to do with it and you don't know
Yeah.
what shapes are going to do what. And, just having a few of these that are designed to, like hit a little burnishing spot so you can punch it up from the back. Or is in a little line so you can like draw with it. Or if you need to sort of like work something underneath. You need to chisel underneath, having a little, wedged piece that it has a little chisel front is great for a liner. So, it makes it easy to make the tool that you really need. I've made a number of burnishers with these. I've made some scrapers with these for printmaking and a number of other tools. One of my favorite printmaking tools I actually made, and it has a three-sided scraper on one side and a burnisher on the other end. So those, can be fantastic tools for, doing, what you need, whether you're in the printmaking studio or the metal studio or sculpture studio, wherever you're working. And I know a lot of blacksmiths are like, oh yeah, well, blah, 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 you need to do this a certain way. And it's like, yeah, you do, but jump in and do it. Give it a try.
Yep. Yep. So we have
Right?
a question.
Yeah.
Where do you get your tool steel?
From the hardware store. So you can get steel stock, kind of in like this in different sizes from the hardware store. You just want to make sure that it's not galvanized. That's the
Right.
important thing. If it's got like that galvanized zinc coating, that's going to smoke off when you heat it, and that's really bad. So what you want to do is get the just regular old key stock that's not galvanized. And this is
So like maybe start in the welding section, I guess.
usually you can
Pencil
get
rod or
Yeah, usually you can find steel stock round or square in like at a lot of the fronts, they have it in different lengths. Yeah, welding places will have stock as well in different thicknesses and gauges. This one is I think 3/8 inch. Yeah, that's 3/8 inch. But you can get like 1/4 inch, which is a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So depending on, how, I would feel it in your hand, and if it needs to be, bigger, if you need to get a better grip on it, get a little bit larger piece. If you're doing
Hmm.
something that's more delicate, get a smaller piece. But usually this comes in like 2, 3, 4 feet lengths, so you can get a bunch out of it. If you've
Yep.
got a friend who's a blacksmith, see if they'll, forge out a taper for you. A friend of mine forged out this piece, and I could actually cut this in half and use it for two different
Yeah.
tools. But he had some steel stock, and he was like, "Hey, do you need a little bit of steel?" And I was like, "Yes, please." So
Thank you.
just yeah, a little bit of mild steel, and then you can heat harden it. Works great. But yeah, just regular old, key stock works really well. In fact, one of the things that I've got over here that a lot of people like to use, some people actually use like Allen wrenches, and you can get like the long Allen wrenches. You just again want to make sure they're not galvanized, and but that gives you kind of a nice little hexagonal shape that you can work with. I would definitely, get a bigger one than this, but that's possible. And, sometimes you've got, in your, grandpa's garage, you may find things like these that are like old drifts and punches.
Yeah.
And same thing, you can, repurpose those. Again, just make sure they're not galvanized. So if you've got, one like this, it's an old, rusty tool, remove, the rust, and you can do that in, there's all kinds of great rust removing dips that you can put it in overnight. A strong
Hmm.
cup of tea will
Yep.
take out the rust. Just leave it in there overnight. Let the take the rust off. Heat it up, and then, like I said, if you get the tip to red hot, so you want to heat this like the tip up to red with your torch, and then just stick it in some sand or vermiculite. Let it cool slowly, and then what you do is if you hit it with a file, if it feels, it sounds like a low filing sound. So you can actually file the mild steel with your file. And with if it's tool hard, it sounds like you're running your file across glass. So it is really hard and won't let you file it.
Yeah.
So it's annealed when you can hear that sound with your file. But it's really easy to file it to the shape that you want, sand it and or grind it to the shape that you want,
Hmm.
and make it, whatever you need. And then again, take your torch and heat about, maybe an inch back from the tip, like focus your
Yeah.
heat here. And then you'll see that those bands of color slowly migrate out to the tip until you get those bands of color, and you'll see that straw yellow move right to the tip. And when you see that, plunge it into your oil and you're good to go.
Yep.
Um, some steel is you can water quench, some you can oil quench. And so it just, I usually use oil. It's just the one that is my go-to.
Yeah.
Um, but I think this was like an old hex key that turned into a punch because I wanted like a heavier punch. But yeah, this was a 5/16 um, hex key originally. So yeah, so you can use stuff like that. So yeah, repurposing your steel is a great way to go. In fact, even things like old, if you've got like an old file that you may have gotten, it's 89 cents from the old hardware store. Um, so this file has seen better days,
Yeah.
but this steel's great. I can easily, um, cut this down, like anneal it, and then I can actually saw it with my jewelry saw
Yeah.
and shape it and turn it into whatever tool I want it to be. So if I need some stamps, if I need, whatever I need, I can use an old tool like that. Um, I've got like an old chainsaw file that I could actually make small round tools out of. I
Nice.
really kind of like the square ones though, especially if they have like a chisel front on them or a liner like that one. I really like the square stock for that because I know what the direction of my line is in.
Great. And
That way,
then bonus, it doesn't roll off your desk.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that way I can sort of follow my line straight. And if it's round sometimes you lose that
Yeah.
ability because it's rolling in your hand as you're working. So with like this, it's like it kind of will have a tendency to kind of roll as you're hitting. So for punches and things like that, so if I'm raising up, a surface and trying to really make a mountain or sink something down, something that's got a little more, push on the front, something a little bit bigger,
Mhm.
it's going to work really well. But yeah, once you dip it in oil, they're sealed and good to go. You don't have any rusting or anything like that. And yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So there you go. Um, yeah. Boop. But like I said, Jeff is going to be doing his workshop with the practical chasing, and some of his stuff is very small and tiny and really detailed. So he's going to talk
Yeah.
about transferring the design, making the tools, creating your volume and your shape, and getting things drawn into your metal. Oh, I was going to show you the couple that I've got. I've got one on the block here. Let me flip over here if you want a spot like that. Um, so here we go. Yeah. So, so this is done with the Japanese chasing tools. This is the first one I ever did, Helen.
It is so cute.
It's a little
Cool and cute.
Mhm. And so what we did was we sort of raised up the surface into a dome and then chased back to get the details of the leaf. And then using things like little chisels and liners, you undercut, hit from the side. And so it looks like it's kind of floating off the surface a
Hmm.
little bit. And so you get some three-dimensional form there. Um,
Nice.
the one that I've got, and I'm using a Japanese black pitch.
Hmm.
So you don't need a bowl for it because it's a little more firm. So you can work on a mound like this and put it in a
Yeah.
vise if you need to. But it has a couple of screws on the back. And then you like stick your warm pitch and form it with your sledgehammer to into a little mound. So
Wow.
basically, this is in process. And just from a little drawing that I had, I transferred that onto the copper. And so he's going to be, a little frog and a lily pad when he's all done. So a little
Very cool.
dragonfly. So
I love little froggies.
little frog. Yeah, I like him a lot. I like his little ridiculous looking frog. But yeah, so you can get, punching it from the back, you can get all the little texture. If you look at Nancy Megan Corwin's, she'll do things like this where she's like punched it up and then punched it back in the center, and she'll use those for stone settings, which are beautiful,
Oh,
really cool.
yeah.
Yeah. But you can get an amazing amount of detail with the chasing, and just take a look at Jeff's work and you can see. But
Yeah. And I do want to add to say that he's not going to be teaching how to do his work. He's just get teaching you to how to make to do that style of
yeah.
the process.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be making cat or mouse armor in this class. You're going to be making your own designs
Right.
and learning how to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can really see how that kind of lifts right up
Oh wow, look at
on
that.
the surface, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. And so that's done with like a liner and just chasing back into that, like it's domed, and then pushing underneath the dome to get it to look like it's just kind of floating off the surface a little bit. So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's
Yeah,
got,
so cool.
a little more three-dimensional quality to it. So, also Victoria Lansford does a lot of leaf forms and very organic forms, and hers are very volumetric as well. And like I said, we've got a link to Victoria's class on our webpage as well. So check those both
Yep.
out. But yeah,
Yep.
here you go. I don't show the frog very
Yay.
much. He's kind of been in progress for a while, and I never showed this one. So, but I keep this with my Japanese tools
Yeah.
because it's the first one I did with those tools.
That's
And
so cool.
these are this is kind of the size that would be used in um the Japanese sword handles underneath
Right.
the wrappings. And they would have like different charms for different things.
Hmm.
So but yeah, that's kind of what that is. So
Oh, that's so cool.
but yeah, I mean, you can see these are really small. They're not, big pieces. They're not
Yeah.
designed to be, huge. And I think that's one of the nice things that Jeff's really approaching, is that This is practical chasing for jewelry studio, not,
Yes.
For your jewelry studio, not necessarily for doing,
Big
vessels.
sculptural work. Yeah. Yeah.
But it is a start. I mean, it's the same.
Oh, absolutely. It's all the same techniques. It's just you would apply it on a different scale.
Mhm,
But yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Helen, thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. And you guys, we got a bunch of fun classes coming up, so please do check out Little Metal Fox's
Yep.
website and see what's coming up. Check out all the other Tool Tip Tuesdays that we've got on here, and we've got lots of interviews with other artists and other tool makers, and from Lion Punch Forge and Lindstrom and all over. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff coming up. We're very excited about being able to tour the Lindstrom plant in
I know.
region of Spain coming up in April. So we'll have some video of that for you all. So yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys again. And again, hit the like button right now. Do it. Did you hit the like
Yep.
button? Hit it. And and subscribe so you know when we're live and you can watch us and ask questions. And as always, have a wonderful time in your studio, being creative, and be fearless. Go forward and create.
Yes. Yes.